Hello and welcome to Starving Marvin. I would like to start off with a trigger warning. So, on this podcast, I'll be talking about issues that affect Africa. I'll be talking about poverty. I'll be talking about starvation. I'll be talking about deprivation. So, if you are easily offended by such topics, please turn off this podcast or choose another podcast from Starving Marvin. Why did I choose to go by the name Starving Marvin? Starving Marvin is a character on South Park. He is a starving African child who is introduced to us as someone who needs food, someone who needs shelter, someone who needs basic amenities. And what did Starving Marvin get? Starving Marvin got some missionaries who came to his village, and instead of addressing his wants and needs, what they did, they went ahead and gave them the Bible and taught them Christianity while they were literally dying. So, Starving Marvin, to me, as an African child who grew up in Africa, pretty much experiencing the deprivation, the want, and the poverty that is often associated with the continent, I can see how the world views us. South Park, is over the top, and Starving Marvin is an over-the-top character, a satirical character, but it goes to show what Africans go through, how the African is viewed by the wider audience of the world at large. The African is viewed as a charity case. The African is viewed as someone who can't make decisions for himself. Someone who needs guidance and patronage, especially from the liberals these days. In ancient days, the African was viewed and with contempt by the missionaries who came in and tried to give us religion, to civilize us as Africans. But what they failed to notice was that we had our own culture, we had our own society, we had our own gods, we had our own economic system. And when they came in, what they did was they went ahead and disrupted the traditional economic cultural system. So if you destroy a people's culture, they become a people who cannot help themselves without the one who has destroyed the culture intervening. And the greatest trick that the West played on the African was to convince him that, the African had no history, the African had no culture, and the African needed the European way of life in order to be a civilized human being. Going back to Starving Marvin, he really hits me as a character. I'm emotionally invested in that character because it is a cartoon, it is over the top, but there are some truths there. The first truth, as I said, being Africans are viewed with contempt. And it is my aim to just speak to anybody who will listen, giving my perspective, my unique perspective as an African who has lived in Africa, who has lived through poverty, starvation, hunger, disease, all of that stuff. I have experienced it firsthand. From 2006 to about early 2010, I basically subsisted on food from the World Food Program. I'm forever grateful for the well-wishers and those who, found it in their hearts to donate so that the Africans can have something. I appreciate it. Don't get the sense that I'm not appreciative. But I am a historian. I am an amateur philosopher. And I don't look at problems by just scratching on the surface. I look deeply. When I see an African nation experiencing famine, I don't just say, wow, these people, they don't know how to pull themselves out of poverty. Their government is not responsible, it's corrupt. Yes, that's true. But I look deeper. Why is there famine in that country? What led to this famine? And if we trace most of the problems that modern Africa faces, most of them can be blamed squarely on colonialism and imperialism. Why do I say so? Before the white men came to our lands, we had our own systems. We had our own religion, we had our own economic system, we had our own farming systems, which were sustainable, We lived in harmony with our environment. We practiced crop rotation. Some of us were hunter-gatherers. Some of us were farmers. Some of us were nomadic herders. And if you look at it, the African would live in harmony with the environment. If we go to Southern Africa, the weather there is fine. The climate is temperate. It's nice. It's savanna everywhere, tall grasses, big shady trees. It rains. It's warm, so it's very conducive for farming. So the Southern Africans were farmers, and they practiced animal husbandry. If we move up a little bit to Central Africa, it's near the equator, it's tropical. The people there could basically survive by gathering because there was enough food to go around in the jungles, in the rainforests, in the rivers. They did a little fishing, a little hunting, a little gathering, living in total harmony with their environment. If we go up to the more drier parts, like near the Sahara, just before we get to the Sahara, like countries like Kenya, up there, we have nomadic herders, we have nomadic communities. Basically, they did what was in accordance with their environment. Grass was widely available, but farming was not a practically good deal because they were so close to the desert and it didn't rain as much. But it was a good place to herd cattle and to raise animals. And they would raise their animals, drive them around the plain. If the grass would get depleted in a certain area, they would move and allow the environment to heal and recuperate. So why am I saying all of this? I'm saying all of this because, as I said, I once had to subsist on food from the World Food Program. And if a Westerner would look at it, they would just say, these people are lazy, they should get off their behinds. Why are they so poor? Why can't Africans just hold themselves and pull themselves up by the bootstraps? What's wrong with them? These Africans, these uncivilized Africans, these charity cases. Well, dear well-intentioned white liberal, the reason why we are failing to feed ourselves as a continent is because of a system that was thrust upon us by your ancestors. I'm all for let bygones be bygones, and I don't want anyone to get the impression that I hate the West and all of that. I understand that what's done is done. We have to adjust to the status quo, and we have to just go with it. We can't go back to being hunter-gatherers. It's not practical. But at the same time, it is my aim and my goal as an African to just give perspective to what goes down in Africa. So I'll just be speaking on topics that affect Africa and even the world at large, just to give you a perspective, a look into the mind of the African. Because for far too long we've had people who had opinions, people who wanted to help, people who thought they had the solutions, for Africa's problems. But Africa's problems can only be solved by Africans. Yes, we appreciate the help, we appreciate all the help we can get, but the solutions that can be implemented should come from an African perspective, should come within the African context. That's why I'm here. That's why I created this channel. This is Starvin Marvin. Like the channel, share my podcasts, subscribe, and do comment. And if you have any topic that you think is pertinent, if you have any questions about Africa, anything at all that you think you don't understand, just talk to me in the comments and I'll give a crack at it. I'll talk about it. Thank you for listening. This has just been an introduction. I've just been trying to, justify the existence of this channel, because when one speaks to people, you have to have something to say, and you have to have a reason why people should listen to you. Why does your opinion matter? And my opinion matters because I am an African. I know the history of Africa. I've lived through poverty. I've experienced firsthand the legacy and the consequences of imperialism. So I think my opinion matters on the wider world stage. Africa has for far too long been ignored, and I think it is my duty as a young African to educate people about what goes down in Africa, to educate people about why Africa is the way it is, and also to speak truth to those who hold negative views, and to just tell it like it is. I know I may not be able to win hearts and minds, but I hope to spark a conversation. Thank you for listening. This has been Starvin Marvin.